Okay, I have a special guest with me today, AWR Hawkins. Sadly, we're going to be talking about a big shooting that has happened in the state of Iowa, but then we're also going to talk about gun laws and gun control in the 21st century. AWR, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you. Good to be with you.
So sadly, there's been a shooting up in Iowa. I don't have a lot of details. I saw it just before we got on. Can you help my viewers understand this tragedy and what's going on?
Well, I mean, they have really held details close to the vest on this. What we do know, I think you have two or three people who were injured, and then the shooter himself is dead. He killed himself. That's the only fatality that I know of. So you have, as I say, two or three people injured, then the shooter killed himself. And it occurred at a high school in Perry, Iowa, and it occurred actually before classes began. So there was a smaller group of students and teachers. Not even all the teachers were at school yet. And the sheriff of Perry talked about how that was a great thing that there weren't that many people there at the time this occurred.
Yeah. I always hate reading these stories about distressed students or past students that go back and try to seek revenge on the student body or something like this. Of course, the media will jump all over this and blame the gun,
Right.
access to the gun, and it is a tragedy. Even the fact that these people wield these weapons this way. Now you've been teaching about guns and the Second Amendment and writing about guns for decades. I've noticed around presidential elections, we seem to see Republicans saying Democrats are coming for your guns. After every tragic shooting, we see Democrat lawmakers blame the guns and then try to enact new laws that would remove your guns. What is the truth on guns?
Right. The truth. Well, the truth, number one, when Republicans say Democrats are coming for your guns, they are telling the truth. I'm not here to represent the Democrat Party, I mean, the Republican Party, excuse me. Uh, I'm just saying they're telling the truth when they say that. Biden's been coming for your guns the whole time he's in. Barack Obama did the same thing. The Democrats in office, Schumer, it was only 2 weeks ago, Schumer pushed an assault weapons ban. Fortunately, it got defeated, but the truth on guns is that guns don't kill people. I mean, I hate to say something that's stupid, but guns don't kill people. People kill people. And when they can't find a gun, they weaponize a car. And when they can't find a car, they weaponize a truck. And when they can't find a truck, they use a knife or they use a bat. I cover every year at Breitbart FBI crime stats. And what you see is year after year after year, more people are beaten to death with fists and feet that are killed with rifles of any kind. And far more people are stabbed to death than are killed with rifles of any kind. And we could keep going through those numbers and talk about other types of firearms versus other types of crime. But that's what you see when you look at those cold, hard facts. And you never hear those facts mentioned because those facts undercut the gun control push pretty quickly. And but those are the facts. Guns don't cause crime. People cause crime. People commit crime, and sometimes they use a gun.
Yeah. Now, the first time I became aware of this was there was a Christmas massacre right around the 2020 election where a gentleman, I believe in Minnesota or Wisconsin, had driven his car directly into a Christmas parade.
Oh yes,
And, they immediately started defending, oh, maybe he got lost or maybe there's some mental illness. But nobody was saying, oh my gosh, how dare this guy get in a giant heavy metal truck and drive as fast as he can into a crowd of people or children or whatever it was. Um, so I've not heard this before, but you're saying more people are beaten to death with fists or knives than guns?
well, you look specifically at rifles. Rifles of all kinds combined. That means lever action, pump action, single shot, semi-automatic, the firearms that the left calls assault weapons, put all of those together in one lump. Excuse me. And every year, more people are stabbed to death than are killed with all of those rifles combined. More people are beaten to death than are killed with all of those rifles combined. That's just a quick point I like to make. It when I make that point with a lot of people, most people that push gun control, in my opinion, Stephen, they're not thinking people. So you can't really rationalize with them. But when I make the point there that I just made with you, if I've happened upon somebody who is open to rational thinking, that'll stop them in their tracks. They'll go, "Oh, I didn't know that," and then that opens the door for further discussion.
Yeah, I'm not against guns. I've handled them my whole life. I went through Boy Scouts. My father was very careful to make sure that we understood: do not touch these without an adult. Here's how you know the direction and all that.
Yeah.
I recently got to sit in a room with RFK Jr., who's running for president. And he mentioned that when he was growing up, you didn't see all of these school shootings or mass shootings, and that children, teenagers specifically, they took classes with guns. They had guns in the back of their car, rifles, and
Right.
up on the gun rack. And he said, it's time to start teaching children gun safety versus just removing guns. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's good, and it's also a way to call the left's bluff because the gun control groups, they use that phrase "gun safety" instead of being honest and saying they're pushing gun control. They say they're pushing gun safety. Okay, you push gun safety. Let's have some gun safety classes. As soon as you do that, the left locks up. That's the last thing they want are these kids learning gun safety, in all honesty. I agree with that approach though. And of course, I am also of a generation where when I went to school, I had a shotgun in my car in the school parking lot, or depending on what I was going to do after school, I might have a rifle in my car. And we were going to go hunting for this or for that. There was never any thought among anybody at our school that they would bring their hunting rifle in and kill somebody, or their shotgun in and kill somebody. It was a completely different worldview. And again, for people who'll say, well, now we have so many guns, this happens and that. We not only had so many guns back then, but we had them even closer to us because we could bring them to school. But we had a different setting. We had what I would say by setting, I mean home setting. We had families that were complete. We had dads at home, mom and dad together. We had dinner around a table at night, every night. Growing up, I remember the one thing I knew, I had to be home at this time because mom would have dinner on the table. We all sit around that table together. The father talks, the mother talks, everybody's involved in each other's lives. And there was a kind of totality there in the family that filled voids, and that's gone now. So it's not the guns that have changed so much. It's the fact that we have let go of the structure that used to keep us sane.
Yeah, interesting. I remember when I had younger children reading that the number one indicator of whether children will drink, use drugs, join a gang was, did they have family dinner more than 4 times a week? And that always
Interesting.
stuck with me. So when you said that just recalled a memory of mine.
Right.
Wanted to ask you, many would have us believe that it's time for us to give up our guns, to be more like England, to
Yeah.
be more like Australia. Of course, their governments would never do anything against the people, lock them up, force certain medications on them, give them no way to defend themselves against their own government or each other. What do you know about the difference between like the crime in Switzerland, where everyone is mandated to have a gun, and other countries where they've stripped the citizens of their right to defend themselves with a gun?
Well, I mean, if you look automatically, you look at England and the rate of stabbings. I mean, once guns are gone, and this is a phrase I use, it doesn't mean other people have to use it, but once you remove firearms, you open the door to personal crime. And what I mean is now the attacker can get right up on you because he does not have to fear being shot in response or you having the power to retaliate. And so that opens the door to personal attacks with machetes, with daggers, with different types of knives, which is exactly what you see in England. I mean, it's exactly what you see. And our founders understood that. And that's why, when people think about the gist of your question, and we talk about, is it time to get rid of guns? What we're really asking is, does the Second Amendment still hold any water right now in the 21st century? And if you look at the Heller decision, our Supreme Court issued in 2008, they were very clear that the Second Amendment protects the guns that are in common use for each era, for each period of time in our nation. And so when you look at that, and I'm paraphrasing them when I say that, but that you can read it yourself, no problem. If you read it, you'll understand it. And so the Second Amendment is never out of vogue, so to speak. And it's always protecting the guns that the law-abiding citizen uses for self-defense that are in common use for that purpose. And, if you read in 2010, McDonald v. Chicago, again, a Supreme Court decision, the majority opinion was written by Samuel Alito. And Alito said self-defense is the central component of the Second Amendment. So people have to always remember the Second Amendment, yes, it protects gun rights, but it does that because it chiefly protects the right to self-defense. And as Alito made clear, the most effective tool for self-defense, in his words, were a handgun. And so you have those guns protected.
Yeah, you think about your like your personal bubble, right? Or your personal
Right.
safety. The advantage of a firearm is distance, the
Right.
ability to defend yourself more at a distance where, like in England, all of a sudden bricks and pipes and knives become the weapon of choice.
Right.
Humans are still going to be human when they're emotionally out of control,
Right.
but the advantage of that firearm is the ability to defend yourself with distance between you and whoever is coming towards you.
Right.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
think I wrote once, Stephen, in one of my Breitbart pieces that, in a world where guns are banned, the man with a knife is king. And I was just making your point, because once I can't keep a buffer between myself and the criminal, once I can't keep that buffer there, if he can get right up on me, he's got me. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. You go back just to like look at our ancestors when it comes to hunting, like if you have to have, like, if you're going after, let's say, a wild boar with big old tusks down in Texas, you want to show up with a butter knife or a rifle, right?
Right.
Like that ability to take out your prey from a distance gave humans such an advantage to become apex predators. Just it was such a game changer. But again, they can be used for good or for evil.
Right.
Wanted to final question. I appreciate you coming on. Is have you found the hypocrisy just absolutely delicious with these politicians that want to get rid of guns, defund the police, and then within a couple of weeks or months, those same people are hiring more bodyguards, or they're calling the police because they're being harassed, or they had their car stolen at gunpoint because they have no protection. I mean, it's like over and over again, the very people that call to remove the police and guns end up surrounding themselves with more guns.
Right. No, you're exactly right. I remember I wrote a story, Stephen, I believe it was about 3 years ago, but Hillary Clinton had come out big and strong, calling out AR-15s in particular. Got to get rid of those AR-15s. Well, I happen, and I can't name the city because I don't want to ever do anything to jeopardize this person, but I happen to have a friend in a major city who is a local police officer, but has reached a rank where he crosses over to work with federal agents when they come in town. And one such instance, he finds himself helping out when Hillary's in town. And he told me just how many AR-15s were used to keep her safe when she was in town. It was delicious, as you would say. And, the thing is, you look at that or you look at Biden. Biden's trying to ban right now, literally trying to ban the exact same firearms the Secret Service uses to protect him every day. And you look at Chuck Schumer, you got the same thing. The Capitol Police, last time I was up there, they were carrying AR-15s that were made by H&K. That's a great firearm right there. But why is it that that firearm can be used there to protect Schumer or whoever, but I can't have that firearm to protect my kids and my wife. Why is that? It seems duplicitous to me, or I should say, it seems like hypocrisy to me. And I'm like you. I can't stand for that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on ARW. If excuse me, AWR. If people want to follow you, what is the best way to do that? Or should I just leave a link to your most recent Breitbart article?
Well, they can follow me by reading at Breitbart, or they can go to my Instagram, AWR_Hawkins. I post a lot of stuff there. But I write exclusively at Breitbart. Between Breitbart and Instagram, that's where I do everything.
Okay, great. AWR Hawkins, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
I hope you do too. Thank you so much.